Last year, you made a powerful statement saying the reason people are watching women's basketball is not just because of one player, but because of you too. A year later, do you feel like you...
Next question.
The reporter never even finished his question, but Angel Ree's two-word response said it all. In that instant, she summed up the state of the WNBA and its complicated relationship with Caitlin Clark. And now, that relationship has shifted dramatically. Clark's influence has been impossible to ignore. Millions of new fans, sold-out arenas, and historic TV ratings prove it. Yet the league has stumbled with the opportunity. Instead of celebrating what she brought, too many voices within the WNBA push back. They dismiss the hype, minimize her impact, and even mock the passionate fan base she attracted. To outsiders, it looked baffling. Rather than embracing Clark as a generational gift, the league treated her presence as a problem to manage.
The WNBA last year, bless their hearts, finally got a star. And they didn't know that. They couldn't figure it out. Well, we don't want to put too much Caitlin Clark on. Nope, every game. More Caitlin Clark all the time. Always. Caitlin Clark is easily the most influential athlete in a team sport since Michael Jordan.
The success, the mainstream buzz, the sold-out crowds. It was everything the WNBA had chased for decades. The league finally had its breakthrough. The player, the spotlight, the headlines, and the cultural relevance. For the first time, real money, bigger salaries, and global recognition felt within reach. But there was one complication. It was Caitlin Clark driving it all. And for many inside the league, that reality wasn't triumph. It felt like a loss. Clark being the one wasn't just unexpected. It was, to some, the end of a dream that the league's rise would come from their collective effort. The bitter truth? After years of being told fans didn't care about women's basketball, the fans did show up. They just showed up for Caitlin, and that changed everything.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Yes, Diana, there are. Much like a loss, we watched WNBA players and media cycle through denial, anger, and every stage of grief. It's been messy, sad, ugly, and a terrible look for the league. But now, something has shifted. A moment that might have seemed ordinary under normal circumstances has flipped the script entirely. That one event forced the WNBA to recognize what's coming, and suddenly, they're scrambling to get on the right side of history. The writing is on the wall, and the league knows it. So, let's break down exactly what happened. But first, hit like if you're ready to watch the WNBA cave to Caitlin, and don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's rewind for a moment.
Yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
By this time last season, Caitlin Clark wasn't just in the WNBA. She was dominating it. Viewership tripled. NBA arenas sold out. Her jerseys flew off shelves. Every Indiana Fever game became a spectacle, with fans lining up for hours and scalpers demanding playoff-level prices for ordinary regular season tickets.
Now, if we say her stats are today, 20 points, 8.4 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
But 5.8.
The jealousy began long before Caitlin Clark ever stepped onto a WNBA court. The hype surrounding her was unlike anything women's basketball had ever seen. She shattered the NCAA all-time scoring record, men's and women's, while carrying Iowa to back-to-back national championship games. Everywhere she played, arenas sold out. She hit logo threes like they were layups. By the time the WNBA draft arrived, there was no suspense. Everyone knew she'd be the number one pick. It wasn't just a selection. It was a coronation. Clark wasn't just a player. She was the moment. Cameras flashed, sponsors lined up, headlines exploded. And that's when the tension began. Because the league had seen great players before. Aya Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Breanna Stewart. All proven stars, MVPs, and champions. But none entered with this level of hype. And for some, that cut deep. That's when the first stage of grief surfaced. Denial. It wasn't mere skepticism. It was outright resistance. From veteran players to media voices, even executives, the downplaying started early. The cracks were visible before Caitlin Clark ever laced up her pro sneakers.
Caitlin's coming. There's more than just that are coming. What will the league have in store for them when they get there?
Look, SVP, reality is coming.
If Caitlin Clark had come in and struggled, even been just average, the old guard would have had their "I told you so" moment. The story would have written itself. College is one thing, but the WNBA is another. You don't simply walk in and dominate veterans who built this league. The hype would have faded, the cameras moved on, and the critics vindicated. But that's not how it played out. Her debut drew 2.1 million viewers. the most for a WNBA game in over 20 years. From then on, every appearance brought soaring ratings, national broadcasts, sellout arenas, and jerseys flying off shelves. Clark didn't just live up to expectations. She seized them. And that's when it happened. Stage 2 of grief. Anger.
Voting last season. Clark, hammer. 3 Sky players coming over. Here's Clark for 29 points, gets tripped up.
Is good. Kennedy Carter now with 12 points off the bench.
Once it became obvious that Caitlin Clark's pull wasn't fading, no matter how many eye rolls or media critiques, the focus shifted to damage control. Not off the court, but on it. Whether intentional or not, the league's pushback started between the lines. Players set punishing screens, delivered off-ball hits, added unnecessary contact. And the refs? They swallowed their whistles. The message was clear. Let her take the hits, let her get frustrated, maybe even question if she belonged. If the hype wouldn't fade on its own, they'd try to beat out of her. Game after game, the tolls showed. Clark was battered, drained, exhausted. But she never folded. She got tougher, stronger, and after the Olympic break, came back playing MVP-level basketball. She led the Fever to wins, broke the assist record, made first-team All-Star. Once the hype proved real, Stage 3 began. Bargaining. Veterans scrambled to rewrite the narrative. To protect pride, status, and control. Intro 8. They knew better than to attack Caitlin Clark directly. It would only backfire. So instead, the target became everything orbiting her. The fans were ridiculed. The media was blamed. The narrative shifted. Caitlin wasn't the issue. Everyone else was. She was getting special treatment. Her supporters weren't real WNBA fans. And if you liked her, it had to be because of her skin color. Never mind that she led the league in assists as a rookie. Never mind the record-breaking crowds, the sold-out arenas, the unprecedented attention she brought to the game. None of it mattered, because the story wasn't framed around her greatness. It was reduced to accusations of bias.
It's just the structure of the way media plays out race. So last night, we read Time magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover?
The one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her. Little girls with their parents and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, but she was a white girl from the middle of America.
It was straight out of the propaganda playbook. Repeat the lie enough, shout it loud enough, and eventually people stopped questioning it. Soon, a portion of the basketball world actually convinced themselves Caitlin Clark wasn't that talented. She was just lucky. But if critics thought that narrative would cool the Caitlin Clark effect, they were badly mistaken. Instead, something remarkable happened. One by one, established veterans began lining up to join the Indiana Fever. And these weren't players desperate for a contract or simply happy to fill a roster spot. These were seasoned champions, DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Sydney Colson, women with resumes, with rings, with options. And they all wanted the same thing, to play in Indiana. Not just for the roster or the coaching staff, but for Caitlin Clark. It wasn't long ago that media voices like Cheryl Swoops painted Indiana as a place nobody wanted to go. Diana Taurasi even referenced those old rumors recently. But that story has crumbled. Today, Indiana isn't just a landing spot, it's a destination. And once that shift happened, the floodgates opened.
While Caitlin is fantastic and I think she's going to have an incredible career in the WNBA, there are women that were worthy of coverage prior to her arriving, and I just will not be silenced when it comes to it.
It started with the arena upgrades. Games were being moved, not for playoff races, not for all-star matchups, just for Caitlin Clark. Teams that normally played in smaller gyms suddenly had to book NBA arenas. The demand wasn't negotiable. If Caitlin came to town, you needed more seats. Then came the broadcast schedule. Out of Indiana's 44 regular season games, 41 were set for national television. That's not visibility, that's saturation. Networks weren't hedging their bets. They pushed their chips to the center, convinced the Caitlin Clark show was primetime worthy nearly every night. And then came the preseason. One exhibition with no stakes and no standings, sold out a 15,000-seat arena. Preseason. Fans happily paid hundreds just to watch Caitlin Clark warm up. That wasn't just hype. It was proof. She had become the league centerpiece before her rookie season even tipped off.
And for the first time in history, WNBA games will be played in the United Center. The Chicago Sky will host the Indiana Fever at the UC on Saturday, June 7th, and on Sunday, July 27th.
By then, the Caitlin Clark effect could no longer be dismissed. This wasn't hype or clever marketing. It was hard numbers, big money, and unstoppable momentum. For many players, the reality landed differently. Their teams weren't being built around them anymore. They were banking on Caitlin. Promotion spiked when the Fever came to town. Ticket sales soared only when she was on the floor. Broadcasters knew it. Sponsors knew it. Fans absolutely knew it. And somewhere in the middle of the sold-out arenas, the nonstop promotion and the league's shifting energy, a new stage emerged: acceptance. And once it hit, players started talking.
And the average reported ticket price was $650. Now, if you do the math here and you do 15,000 people times $650, that is almost $9.75 million just for a WNBA preseason game.
Has the coverage been flawless? Not at all. There are still snubs, double standards, and plenty of critics quicker to nitpick than to celebrate. But slowly, undeniably, the tone has changed. Media outlets that once questioned her every move are now highlighting her leadership, her relentless work ethic, and her influence on the league. Even players who once seemed doubtful are beginning to give real credit. Not just she's good, but she's changing the game. And that shift brings us to the defining moment, the one that sealed it all: Caitlin Clark's homecoming.
Yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlin Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games? I think we have to understand that when one player eats, we all eat. And as we all get more opportunities, it just opens it up for everyone else.
Caitlin Clark a problem, bro.
Yeah, she that.
I just think about my rookie year, and I think about how I came into the league, and I'm like, bro, it was such a crazy transition for me to just understand what it's like to play at the pro level. And it's like this girl coming in as a rookie and going she broke the record for assists. I don't think people really understand how crazy that is to do as a rookie, your first year doing this. But that's another episode. Shout out to Caitlin, bro.
The plays that she was making still, despite all that, was insane. But people were so caught up in the logo threes and the high, the 23-point attempts per game, which absolutely I understand that. It was so much fun to watch. But I always said she could potentially be one of the best point guards to ever play in the WNBA.
Over 1.3 million people tuned in to that exhibition game. And it wasn't just the crowd or the sold-out arena. It was the context. That number didn't just top WNBA preseason viewership. It outgrew games from other professional leagues. But the real story wasn't just who watched. It was how Caitlin responded. With the spotlight squarely on her, she didn't shrink. She thrived. She fed off the energy, delivering exactly what the audience came to see.
The fans filed outside in droves, getting ready at Carver Hawkeye Arena, and watch parties all around Iowa City. Everybody wants to catch a glimpse of Iowa's favorite daughter, Caitlin Clark, returning home.
With the spotlight on her, Caitlin sprinted up the court and drilled a three from the exact spot where she broke the NCAA scoring record. It wasn't just a basket, it was a statement. The crowd erupted because this was bigger than basketball. It was entertainment. It was theater. A full-circle moment delivered with perfect timing. Caitlin knew exactly where she was, what it symbolized, and how to turn it into a scene the audience would never forget.
Possessions of the day for Brazil. Here's Clark. Wow! You from beyond the logo!
Even the Brazilian national team couldn't resist giving fans what they wanted. After the exhibition, they didn't just exchange handshakes and head off. They swarmed Caitlin, smiling, laughing, snapping selfies, as if they just met Michael Jordan. And to them, in that moment, that's exactly who she was.
I think one of the things I love about Caitlin the most is her understanding and willingness to meet the moment and like do the thing that she knows everyone wants.
She knows what the people.
She broke the record making that shot to begin with. There's just like a certain star quality and like star power there, but it takes you being confident enough, willing enough to be like, oh no, I know what you want. Come here. I'm gonna give it to you. I loved it so much. I just think it's great. I love when athletes like have that, like, bring the cameras right over here.
Well,
it's so fun.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. She knows it.
This was the moment. A sold-out crowd, 1.3 million viewers, and opponents rushing her for autographs after the buzzer. In a world driven by sound bites and snapshots, where perception often speaks louder than proof, the picture finally matched reality. Everyone already knew the numbers, the TV schedule, the arena upgrades, the merch sales, the media buzz. But this was different. This was when the illusion shattered. The illusion that it could be about anyone else but Caitlin Clark. Intro 17. And just like that, everything changed.
Yeah, it is clear that she is having her freaking Michael Jordan moments right now.
Players, media, and analysts suddenly sounded far more pro Caitlin Clark than just weeks before. Why? Because after the preseason sellouts, the record ratings and the undeniable pull she brought to every arena, the debate was over, her impact was real.
1.3 million people watched it on ESPN. 1.3 million people. Let me put that in perspective, just between us. No NBA preseason game has had that audience in the last 7 years. Only 2 preseason games in the NBA have had that audience in the last 15 years. More people watched this preseason game than game 1 of last year's WNBA finals. No MLB spring training game has ever come close. The most is when 912,000 people watched the Yankees-Phillies, and that was 20 years ago. 1.3 million people watched Caitlin Clark.
The favorite to win MVP, should she be?
Yeah, I think so. When you talk about Caitlin Clark, she averaged 19 points, 8 assists. I love that you're counting for me. I need you to count out loud. 19 points, 8 assists last season, but had an even better finish to the season after the All-Star break, after the Olympic break. She lit it up. What did she average? 12 assists during that time? She now has more pieces around her, more teammates she can get the ball to, and she had a full off season.
It is a balance, but she's a generational talent. No league's ever about one player, but in this case, Caitlin brought tens of millions of new viewers into the W, and there's no denying that impact. Not just in the WNBA, but the world of sports. Adam and I talk all the time about she's the most popular athlete in America, you know.
When the offseason began, everything clicked. Caitlin Clark wasn't just coasting on fame. She was outworking everyone. While most players eased into downtime, she was jetting to high-profile appearances, speaking engagements, NFL owner meetings, even the Masters, and still walking into gym by 8 a.m. the next morning.
Like this season, people are trying to get on the right side of history after kind of being weird the first year. So I can see like the narrative is already kind of, they're waiting for her to produce so that they can say like they were right.
There's no burnout, no skipping. That's more than discipline. That's legendary behavior. The kind pulled straight from the Kobe Bryant playbook. Caitlin Clark is bigger, stronger, and fully primed to dominate. Her body is now built for grind of a pro season. Her decision-making is sharper, her confidence under the spotlight only stronger. She's no longer just adjusting to the WNBA. She's preparing to take it over. And the critics? Some are already scrambling to get ahead of the story by praising her, while others admit the truth with silence, and to the core, it's about grief. The grief of not being the star. Every player feels it differently. Some lash out in frustration. Others go quiet. A few, like Sophie Cunningham, embraced it from the very beginning. But however it shows, the reality is here. The evidence is undeniable. The scale of her impact is overwhelming. That preseason game in Iowa proved it wasn't just hype. It was the rebirth of the Caitlin Clark effect. Only this time, it's bigger, stronger, and impossible to ignore. That if you're still here, drop a trophy emoji in the comments for making it all the way. Thanks for watching.